Hey folks, it's David Bourne from newwildmedia.com, and today's problem that we are looking at is the issue that many people face when they start looking into podcasting and they realize there's a lot of technical stuff there. It's pretty tough. So I thought I would show you the simplest way that I have found to make a podcast, and that is using anchor.fm as your podcasting host. It's using your phone to record a simple audio file, and in the big picture, what we're doing is instead of starting our first podcast to be our business podcast that really needs to be professional and good, and that's the hard thing to do. The easier thing to do is to make a personal podcast. So at anchor.fm, you can set up a free podcast, and you can just have kind of a laboratory where you make stuff, you post stuff, you play around with the technology, and there's a very low bar that you've set so that you can make lots of mistakes. And so what I'm doing today is setting up my own personal podcast at davidbourne.com. That's a personal site that I've always had. I love that I've got my own name. That's kind of rare these days. So I'm going to have also at davidbourne.com a podcast, and it's just going to be, I'm calling it the Davo Show. Davo is a name that I kind of give things when I'm having fun, so it's for fun. It's easy. It's where stuff's going to go when it doesn't fit somewhere else. So this video, of course, is found at newwildmedia.com. So I'm just going to jump in, go to anchor.fm on the website here, and get started and show you how to set up your own personal podcast. All right, so I have logged in. I set up an account, and I do recommend you do this on a desktop, by the way. I set up my account on my phone, and it worked, but there was, and I've found this to be true several times, things don't always get saved like you might think they will at Anchor. So just keep that in mind. I don't know if it's kind of new, and going through a phone, I almost never do serious media through a phone, although I did upload my first show through a phone because I wanted to do that. I made my first recording through my iPhone. So to give you an overview here, I've got my little cheat sheet to keep me on track. What we're going to do, I'm going to give you an overview of the process. So I'm going to show you how you can, I'm not going to show you how to log in. You can figure that out yourself. That is super simple. Well, it's not super simple, but it should be simple enough. If you have any questions about that, just let me know. But create an account at anchor.fm. And what I'll mostly be doing, you will first see this home page. I just want to verify that this is the home page. Yes, it is. So this is your home page, and I'll come back to this page later, but this is where your details for how you may distribute, how you may get some sampled, well, this is sample data, but it'll show you some analytics in the future. Now you can see here that I have created a draft episode already. So I just made a pre-recorded episode so I could go ahead and throw that in so you could see it. I also added a graphic. I can show you how to do that later, but I wanted to have that ready. So I've made one audio file, one graphic file, and I made a few changes. I made a few decisions on how to call the show, what I was going to call it, and a little bit of the description. Now, I will say this, Anchor lost my description at one point. So again, write all this stuff out first in a separate document. I use Evernote. Write it all out and then copy and paste. That way you don't lose stuff. That, in general, is a good thing to do. Okay, so what's next? All right, we're going to go to right here on settings. If you click on settings, it'll take you to this page. It'll look like this, and you can upload your graphic. This is where I did my graphic from this button here, the update the cover art. Put in your name. This is the description that I already lost. Anchor lost that, but I'll rewrite that. Pick your category. Now, here's a note on the Anchor profile URL right here. It did not give me David Bourne. It gave me David-Bourne06. And I thought, well, Anchor's pretty new. Maybe David Bourne's available. And it was. So that was fun. So check and see if your full name is available there. Hopefully it will be, or whatever you want to name your show. Now, this is the website where the podcast will live here at davidbourne.com. My name, my email. So a couple of things down here. So this is where we are on my list. Money. Now, I don't feel like normally I would do this, but normally this is not normal. And I appreciate that Anchor is hosting podcasting for free. It usually costs at least $7 per month, and that's without analytics, without your data of how many shows are getting downloaded and that kind of stuff. So, but I'm currently paying about $15 a month at another host, and so I probably will go ahead and activate this in the future just to try to support Anchor. I honestly don't care if people ever donate to this show. I wouldn't expect them to, but I do feel like since Anchor is hosting us for free, then why not activate their payment controls? So all this does is it's just like a tip button. You would set it up through your Stripe account, and if somebody wanted to pay you a couple of bucks, then they could do that. You'd get some of it, and Anchor would get some of it. That is how Anchor is monetizing this free podcast hosting. So I recommend you will do that, and I'm going to do that in the future. Now, there are a couple of things I want to tell you down here. Where your podcast can be heard, click on that, and you'll get the little twisty to come down. You're going to want to copy this URL here. This is where your podcast lives on Anchor. Copy that. Now, at this time, your show is only going to show up at anchor.fm. But if you tell Anchor to do this, it will post your site at other places like Apple. For the Apple Podcast app, it can quickly find. These are podcast directories, and I recommend if you want to be found in other places, that you do that. So I'm not exactly sure where they go, but they probably go to Spotify and Apple Podcast. I doubt they go to Stitcher, but there are other ways to get there. Maybe they do. We'll see. I don't know. This is my first day using Anchor. So I did have to choose English as a language. I'm keeping it clean for now. And then, oh yeah, one more thing. See, I'm not following my list. Where can your podcast be heard? I just covered that. Copy the Anchor address. So, and the RSS address. You want to copy this address, but you also want to copy this RSS feed. Now, if you don't know what RSS is, you can go to newwildmedia.com/RSS and find out more about it. If you're going to be a podcaster, it definitely pays to understand how RSS works, what it is, and basically it's just the way subscriptions work on the web. Like if you have a blog and you make a new update to your site, RSS handles that. And the same thing happens for podcasting. So hit save, and all your settings will be set. Now, how do you publish something? Well, remember earlier I told you, and I'm going to go back to the home button here. Click. That takes me back here. We're going to go and upload a file. Now, you can save drafts. In fact, Anchor has a pretty advanced system for helping you actually create the audio files too. At this point, we've talked about podcast hosting and your logo and your description, all that stuff that podcast players need. Well, you can also create audio files within Anchor. Now, normally I don't do that. I did it today just to show you how easy it is to do. Now, I'm never going to be making more Anchor-based audio files, I don't think. I just don't do things that way. And sometimes you go to save something and it just takes forever, and then you lose your changes, and because it's doing it over the internet and it's cloud-based. And I just don't do audio files. I don't usually create audio on a website, but you can do it. So keep in mind that if you want it to be super simple, you can record in the Anchor app on your phone, and it will publish from there, which is pretty awesome. I digress. Let me get back to what we're trying to do. So we are trying to actually publish the file that I created on my phone, on the cloud, and it's living right here. So where did I go to do this? I went to New Episode, and I'm just going to open that up so you kind of see what that looks like on the web. And you can click Record. I don't know. It wants me to use my microphone. I'm going to let it. Well, yes, you can use that. Stop recording. And this is the test recording. That's going to be right there. I'm going to add it over here. It will play. Stop recording. And that's that. If I wanted to add a transition, I could add something like that. Bling. So this is the test recording. All right, that does not sound great, but you get the drift. You can add library files. For example, I have this drum solo I created on my iPad. You can add audio files in your own files by uploading them to the site, so that's good. But at this point, I don't see any way to really transition well on the web. And just doing things over the cloud, like I said before, is just not the best way to be doing audio. But you have those tools. I may play around with those because they are kind of fun. If you look at these transitions, there's some cool stuff. Cool little sounds that you can add. Yeah, I like that. You can add these. I'm going to add that. It's sure fun. That was called Alley. Let's see. So we're going to close off with Alley so I can preview my episode. 33 seconds. Save my changes. It's still playing, which is kind of weird. Change the name of the episode. And I'm not going to publish this, but I can save it as a draft, which is nice. Now that I saved it as a draft, I can go back here. I'm just going to refresh this page. This is my home page. Down here, there, it showed up as the draft. If I click there, it would take me into that second episode. I'm not going to do that, but that's basically how I created this first episode right here. So I'm going to click on that. Hope it's all saved. I can't tell, but it looks like this is it. I'm pretty sure. 49 seconds. Here I come. I recorded this on my phone, remember?
Hey folks, it's David Bourne from davidbourne.com.
There we go. Another plug. Oh, where is that from?
From davidbourne.com.
Oh, okay. Where can people find this show?
From davidbourne.com.
That's right. Okay. Enough of that. So it looks like what I did earlier, and I'm going to publish my first podcast on Anchor. So here we go. Publish now. And I can't tell if that happened. That's not good. Saved as draft. I have no idea if it worked. So let me go back home and see if I have a published episode. No. Let's try again. This is kind of what I'm talking about. Anchor is still figuring things out. Saved as draft. Publish episode. Save changes. Okay, now it's published. This episode is published and can be heard on Anchor. Sweet. All right, so that's basically it. And that was a long recording, so I'm going to stop there. And that is how I created a personal podcast on Anchor. So thanks for watching. Why in the world would you want to make a personal podcast in the first place? I just want to remind you, as I stated earlier, that creating something that is not mission critical, meaning it's not your business podcast, it's a personal podcast. So, if you say, look, this is an experiment, it's a test bed, it's where I'm going to just put stuff. And, it'll probably be pretty interesting just because you never know what you're going to get. And it'll be fun. And that's really what I encourage you to do, is to have fun with digital media, learn it so you can get comfortable. So whenever it's time to put your ideas out into the world, that you've already got those skills, you've already got that comfortability with being kind of on the spot, being in front of a microphone or being in front of a camera. That's just a tenet of what I do at New Wild Media. It's a core idea. So play with the media, have fun with it, practice, just learn to love it, and then put your ideas out into the world. So this has been David Bourne from newwildmedia.com. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please let me know, and you can find me at newwildmedia.com, as I've said, and I hope to see you there. Thanks.